This morning, we have with us, by way of hopefully a solution to all of the things that I just described, a Dentrecia Blanchette of Be Well and Bloom to help guide us to how we can keep up with our mental health during the long pandemic. Welcome, Dentrecia.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, so the conversation on mental health is nothing new, but particularly in the pandemic, we've tended to focus a little more on that. And I'm curious to know if, in your estimation, that has to do with the isolation that we experienced, among other changes.
Yeah, well, we all have mental health, and I think the pandemic really escalated the need for us to take care of our mental health, yeah? So we saw a lot of anxiety coming forth, we saw isolation, we saw grief, we saw it online, we saw it in our families. It's very tough, and we're still in the pandemic, so we're not out.
Right.
And so we still have to adjust, and it has affected us greatly. And it's important for us to just do some intentional things to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So it's not that anything is wrong with us because we are feeling a bit overwhelmed or sad or a bit anxious or restless. It just means that we're natural, we're human, and we're in a very stressful time, even though we're like in 2 years now, we're 2 years into this thing.
Yeah.
So,
It feels like 5.
we have to give ourselves some grace because it's a truly stressful time even now. Yeah?
Right. So can you tell us what are some of the signs that we could spot in ourselves and maybe even in others to tell whether our mental health is on the decline?
Yeah, so all of us, we're on a mental health continuum. So there are times where we're doing okay, we're thinking positively, we can do our task really well, we're amicable with persons. That's when we're on the good side of the mental health continuum, yeah? And then there are times when we are struggling. We have a hard time waking up, we are restless, we're struggling to focus, we're struggling to concentrate, we're very irritable, we have a hard time eating, and that is, but we're still living, we're functioning okay, but we know that we're struggling.
Yeah.
And then that's when we're in the middle of that mental health continuum. And then let's say we have a hard time going to work or we have a hard time in our relationships. It's really impacting our everyday lives. That is when we need to see a mental health practitioner or a therapist because we need that extra support because it's severe. It's on the severe side of the mental health continuum. So when you see that it's getting in the way of your everyday life, of what is normal for you, because normal looks different for all of us, that is when you say, hey, I need some additional help.
You need some backup here.
You need some backup because let's say you can't sleep, you may need some magnesium. That's physical, yeah? So when it's emotional and it's mental, you want to make sure that you're getting that help as well, whether it's medicine, whether it's talk therapy or group support.
Yeah. Well, in listening to you speak, particularly knowing that we're talking to petitions and divisions this morning and the stigma that is associated locally with mental health, I imagine that that is a barrier that you've had to overcome to even get people to the point where they become aware of its importance.
Yeah.
How has that struggle been?
Sure. So Be Well and Bloom, we cater to young persons, so persons 34 and under. And what I've realized is that young persons, they normalize speaking about their mental health. They're very self-aware. They are not afraid to say, I'm going to therapy, or my therapist said this, or I've done this meditation, I'm doing this deep breathing exercise. It's really the more mature generation where there is that negative connotation. There is that fear, that stigma that we've seen for a very long time. And so we cater to the persons who are okay with speaking about and taking care of their mental health. And there are practitioners on the island who take care of the older generation that might be hesitant to even go to help. They may think, maybe I should just go to my pastor, and that might be okay. Maybe I should just pray about it, and that will be okay, So it's harder for that generation, and that's normal. But I think when we recognize the signs, it's impacting my everyday life, I might need additional help. And as you said, I might need backup.
I'm breathing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do that when I'm stressed, but I'm not sure I'm doing it correctly.
Yeah.
So I need you to teach Mimi and me about the deep breathing exercises
Yes,
that we can engage
that we
in
need
to
right
de-stress.
now.
Sure. So there's no wrong way to breathe, because that might be a judgmental statement. I don't know how to breathe. There's a wrong way to breathe. But we can do an exercise, So you want to sit up, and you want to breathe in, and you hold for 4, and you release for 8.
That felt good.
Yeah, that felt really good. You want to do it one more time? So we breathe in and we hold for 4, and we release for 8. And when you're doing this, you may want to do it 5 times. You want to do it 3 times around, 3 rounds, and it helps to calm you down. Sometimes your thoughts are all over the place. You're anxious. You feel it in your body. You want to calm down your body, calm down your nervous system, so that you can make smart decisions. You can speak well. You can articulate, easily, and you can at least be okay to make a smart decision. Yeah.
Right.
So you can do it anytime. You can do it before you work. You can do it during the break. So you can do it lunchtime, in your car before you enter the house. You can do your deep breathing at any time. And then sometimes you may want to just focus your mind. So we speak a lot about mindfulness. So when we're thinking about, I'm having a hard time focusing, what are 3 things I see, 3 things I hear, 3 things I can touch to kind of bring you back to present, to bring you back to the center? That helps you, because sometimes when you have anxiety and depression, your mind drifts. So you want to stay in the present, even if the present is not perfect or ideal. You want to at least stay present so that you're not going all over the place, yeah?
Right. So you spoke about the older generation and
I didn't mean older, mature.
mature generation.
Technically, I'm in that bracket because I'm not 34. So let's hear what you have to say about
So
it.
we spoke about the mature generation, this generation that we're in right now. But what about the school-age kids? I think that it must have been such a stressful experience for them, being in school, being out of school, even though school is on. If you have a little cough, you're being sent home. How do you think the pandemic has affected them? And again, what can we do as the elders or as the parents right now to make sure that our kids are doing okay?
Yeah, our babies are going through a rough time, and they've had to adjust. Children are generally resilient. Yeah, they can bounce back very easily, even after traumatic experiences. But we want to make sure that we're giving them that space to articulate or to vent or to release, express themselves. I know in St. Kitts we tell you, hush them out, don't talk in the house. But it's important because they're going through so many changes that we give them a time to just talk it out, whether it's when you're in the car, you're at the table eating, or you're just in the KFC line, you have them talk it out, and then you want to have them release that energy through activities. Now, we know our children are always on their devices. We want to make sure that they are physically active to release, and then assure them with coping statements. This is a tough time, but we're going to get through it. Those statements really help children.
I need those statements.
Yeah, because they need that level of safety, that sense of safety that a parent or a guardian or someone in the community can provide them, because it's a lot. And they're looking at us, how we are coping, and they're modeling us. So when we model well, we may not have the right things to say. They pick up on those, and they model those as well with their friends or their teachers or whatever environment they find themselves in.
So hearing you say that it's important to express, that just really makes me even more appreciative of people like you who are working with all of us to be expressive and communicative. What can you tell us about Be Well and Bloom that you haven't told us already?
Yeah, well, we're still working, we're still doing the work, we're still referring young persons on St. Kitts to individual therapists. We're supporting where we can. Our young persons are struggling. They may look good on the gram, they may look good on social media, but they're struggling. They're really, really struggling. And so we're helping them. But during the holidays, we have a holiday donation drive. We're giving 15 young moms the opportunity to find some joy in the madness. A lot of persons are hurting. And so we're giving 15 young moms to the Single Mothers Network, ran by Daniela Hodge, care packages with the basics, feminine products, just foods, because a lot of people don't have the basics during this time.
Great.
And so we have committed to 15. And so if persons are interested, they can reach out to us. And if there's more,
How do they reach you, though?
660-9023, or you can message us at Be Well and Bloom. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, or you can find me, Dentrecia. My profile might be private, but you can message me. And then we can connect about how you can give a mom just some sense of joy during this very difficult time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Blanchette. I wish we had more time to talk.
I wish too.
It seems that it goes very quickly. Nonetheless, your information was very helpful. Your breathing exercise is appreciated. So